Live. We are back. Long 2-week hiatus off. We had a lot of action in the wrestling world. I mean, for being in quarantine, we had some excitement for us Rutgers fans and for wrestling fans in general. You know, we had our boy Sammy the Bull competing against Vito Arujia. Great first period battle, and yeah, I was really excited for those guys wrestling. I was supposed to be on the card originally, but that was kind of tough to watch. You know, not being on the card and not getting to go perform. But I was really excited to go watch Sammy. I mean, I wanted to see him make some noise versus Vito, but Vito's a great competitor, and I hope that fuels him. But other than that, man, the wrestling world's been a little dry. I think that's been a little reason why we took a little 2 weeks off. But with everything going on in COVID, I know you were really busy as well these last 2 weeks trying to get our boys back in working within Rutgers, working at different places around New Jersey, maybe getting COVID tests. And I know it was a really big push in the last couple of weeks for you, Coach, just trying to get the guys going again. What's the status with all that?
Yeah, I'll give a quick update. It is good to be back, and we took a couple weeks off just because it was kind of, you know, there was a lot going on, but there was probably some stuff maybe we shouldn't have been talking about even within our club and our NJRTC. So it was good just to take a break, refresh, have some more topics to talk about today. So we have that now, but yeah, just an update on where Rutgers Wrestling is at. We were close to getting back into the facility, which ultimately is what we want, right? We can kind of contain our guys, practice in one practice facility, which is obviously state of the art and super clean. And it's clear, I'm sure our listeners saw the information that came out with the football program being shut down. So we were actually supposed to test yesterday. We quarantined our guys for 7 days leading up to the test, or at least we tried to quarantine our guys as best as possible. They weren't wrestling anymore. They weren't lifting anymore unless it was on their own. And we were ready to test yesterday, but that got pushed back with football being shut down. So we were to test Thursday. We were to test next Monday. If we have 2 negatives, we get to go in the facility. But obviously that got pushed back probably the middle of the month. So our goal is to get in there. Our guys plan on being back on campus September 1st, our incoming freshmen, move-in day, and then hopefully we could start training, you know, quite a bit before that. Boone McDermott is in quarantine in a hotel. He's been in a hotel for 10 straight days. And he's from Iowa, so he actually loves it. I don't know if he's bored or not. But
yeah, that's the W for him.
Yeah, that's a W. He's getting meals sent to him. Eat Clean Bro sent to him. So
yeah, he I don't know if you've been following the UFC. He feels like he's in Saudi Arabia in that W hotel right now. He's looking like probably going to the pool, you know.
Yeah. So hopefully he gets out of quarantine here today or tomorrow, and he can get with our guys and start training. So we're back training all over the state as best we can, and that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of the state of the union. But fired up for Sammy for sure. You know, I mean, I know you have your thoughts on it, and we knew he was up against it, right, in a freestyle match with Vito. That's a tough task. Vito being a former world champ at his level, and you know, Sammy wrestled well the first period, and then kind of what we talked about, you know, talking with Coach Pollard, like just don't let him throw himself to his back and don't give up 4 here and 4 there just to try to go for something. But that's Sammy, and that's kind of a learning process. If he wants to take this freestyle to the next level, he's got to learn, you know, kind of give 1 and not 4 and keep yourself in the match.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And I think that throw in the first period that put him up 5-3 is a reason why he's willing to go for it all the time, because he gets it. He gets it maybe more, like say a normal wrestler may get it 10% of the time. He might get it 30% of the time. So he's a little more confident in going for those kind of moves. But on top of that, if Sammy's listening, man, I would just say he's got to do a better job of following his belief, like following his mind. I know he really believes how to be a champion and how to go about things and how to do it, and how to wrestle when it's time. But I think he's just got to follow that instinct. And there's too many times he lets other things slip through the cracks. And in the second period, I feel like that was where the match showed. Like he's going for those moves, but it seemed like he was going like 80 to 90% for those moves instead of 100%, like in the first period. Like I don't know if it was a endurance conditioning thing or just maybe he was just Vito's really that good. But I definitely think he could beat that kid, and it showed in the first period. So it's like I hope he unlocks that ultimate potential, and he could be a national champ for us, multiple-time All-American. It'd be awesome to see.
I was watching that, and I could see, just by obviously being around Sammy for the last year and watching him compete and even practice, I could see him starting to get tired. He never gets tired. That's the one thing. He could wrestle for a long, long time. So, but I just think the pace and clearly Vito was his positioning was incredible, and he was getting to his legs and getting them up off the mat, which is really, really important. You need to do that. First sequence in the second period was huge. But, going back to his training, and we talked about it after, Sammy trained really, really hard, as hard as he could for it, right? We were kind of meeting up in certain gyms, and he was working out, doing the best he can. But going back, if we could have simulated some matches, we didn't really do any of that for this type of competition. But those matches are important to simulate them and put him in a 3-break 3 where he's tired and maybe rotating some fresh guys on him. So, I don't think his preparation was great. I thought he was confident going in just because he loves to compete and wrestle. But it was good. It was a good show. What did you think of the card overall? What did you think of the matches overall?
I thought it was great, man. Shout out to Flo Wrestling for putting it together and paying some of these athletes or getting the college athletes involved. And I think it was a little upsetting. And, we got Pat Mineo coming on a little bit later, so it's kind of funny and ironic. My perspective on it is like, well, we might have a little glitch in the system and have to take a 20-minute break to watch, but like we have no other wrestling in 3 months, and we had Fight TV, but in my opinion, it was not the same caliber wrestling that we got to see, and it wasn't even making weight. I don't want to say it wasn't professional. It was definitely professional, but Flo has a great production. And as a fan of wrestling from when I was 5, and I followed it from when I was 5, holding the tape recorder for my brother and trying to watch the tape recorder on the TV after the tournament when my hands shaking and leaning, and now seeing a perfect quality video and the interviews and the lead up like it's UFC event, like, all right, if I got to take a 20-minute glitch for that, like I'm fine with it. We're young. We're going to grow like as a sport. And I just wish there wasn't so much bashing about it and more just like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it.
Yeah, I've always said that. Just say nothing. That's what I did. I said, I was pissed. I was all fired up to watch these matches, but it is what it is. It's happened before, and I'm sure it'll happen again, But here's the thing. Pat's going to come on, and he's super knowledgeable, and we're going to find out where he gets all his information, and he's really good to talk to, and he's into it, and he's with Willie now, and they're working. But this isn't him coming on trying to bash Flo Wrestling. Flo Wrestling has been great to both you and I. It's been great to Rutgers Wrestling, and so is Pat and Willie, and they've been great to us. So I love any type of content, any type of wrestling content. Listen, it's got people talking wrestling all the time, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. People are talking wrestling. People tuned into that. Tuned into that. The point,
and they're able to give. They tune into that just as much as they're looking at Pat Mineo's tweets. Like that, it's exciting for wrestling. Like people want to see what these people are saying, gossiping about, and that's exciting to me too.
Yeah, there's news. There's news out there, and there's news happening every day. And there's going to be a lot more news, man. Who's taking an Olympic red shirt? Who's going to transfer? Who's sitting out a year? Who's going to defer a year? I want to know all that. People are like, don't get on that crap. You shouldn't be. No, I want to know that. Yeah. I want to know that stuff because, I think that stuff's really, really important, and to know what's going on within your sport. So
and what's
he's going to have a lot to talk about for sure.
What's enticing about him is he's started this kind of thing, and he started saying outlandish things, but then they started becoming true. So it's like when you say some truth behind it, it's like, dang, like I got to pay attention to what this guy's talking about. So that was always what the interesting thing to me. And he grew up wrestling with my brother for Scotch Plains, which is the town like right next to South Plainfield. Him and his brother were studs for Scotch Plains. I remember them wrestling like Mike Jakubik, Nick Dory. So I'm excited to hear about that a little bit, what they thought about South Plainfield maybe back in the day, what he thinks now. But I mean, moving along those Flow matches, we had some really good other matches. RBY impressed me a lot. That was the next match after that. I really thought that Mueller was going to be in that match. He's a weight class below, but I thought he's a stud, and I was kind of expecting it to be like a 1 to 3 point match in either way, and RBY looked lights out. Yeah,
he looks good, man. That kid's super talented and athletic, and clearly was training and prepared for it, man. These guys are like, everyone. These guys are professionals, and we've been talking on this show for the last 12 weeks through this quarantine. It's like, get your work in and be prepared whenever your name's called. And it was an opportunity for him to wrestle on that stage, just like Sammy. And these guys are professionals, man. They're going to take those matches. They're going to be super prepared or as prepared as they can be. And he was flying. And listen, Mueller's tough, and that's a really big win for him going forward. And he's going to be around for a long time, man. He's going to be around for a long time. What'd you think of Caldwell?
I thought he looked not as good as he could have looked, but like Fletcher is solid, man. Watching Fletcher train before the match and just looking at him wrestle, man, like I definitely give him credit, and I was looking forward to competing him. But he's a solid wrestler. I look forward to battling with him. I think he's still making jumps right now. Like I think he's still climbing in his wrestling. So I think Caldwell was like up against the worst possible matchup he could have put himself in. A guy that's just going to go really hard the whole time, no matter what. Hand fight hard, probably not shoot a lot. It was just so low to the ground. Like it was just a tough matchup, and I think he got really exhausted in like 2 minutes. And still, if anything, looking at that match, a young wrestler has to learn how to. Even if I'm losing, I got to battle when I'm exhausted. Like I'm never giving in, never say die. And Caldwell's nothing to gain out of that match, but he didn't just put his head down and get tagged. He battled to the very end because he's a competitor, and he's definitely a champion in my mind. Just watching that match reassured that, but I was excited, man. I wanted them to hit something crazy and split him up or something, but it's all good.
Maybe I know I wasn't the only one, especially from Jersey. When I think of Darren, I just think he's going to win. I just always think he's going to win and hit something really, really cool. But, you could tell he's been away from it a little bit, at least at that level. So Taylor was Taylor. I think the guy's the best in the world right now. That's just my opinion.
He's a beast right now.
He's Chimizo and Dake. I don't know. Whatever. I kind of knew Chimizo was going to go with the weight thing afterwards. That was kind of and whether he's right or wrong. Good match. Nothing really crazy. It was – I'd like to get in. I'd like to ask Minio what he thinks about Burroughs and Dake. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. I don't know I don't think that was the best Dake, and who knows? But what were your thoughts on that match?
I was kind of surprised Frank Chimizo got to Dake's legs as much and as easily when he did go. Like when he did shoot, he just kind of got to his legs, and I didn't see really Dake fire off many attacks. He hit one ankle pick, and Chimizo easily just kind of stepped out of it with his different kind of defense he has. But I think that Chimizo just like waited a little too long. I think he definitely could get to his legs. So it's like he's got to be prepared to go the whole time versus Dake, because Dake is kind of the same wrestler as Chimizo, as in the sense that they're defensive. They're really good game plan strategy wrestlers. Like they're going to win a lot of matches by 1 to 3 points in the last couple, like minute to minute and a half of each match. So I think it's going to be a lot more exciting next time they wrestle, because they're just going to know they got to both like put it on the line, because they're both going to be coming hot.
Is there too much? Is there too much holding back at that level with those really, really good guys? Is there not enough go? Is there? I mean, I know Taylor just wants to go, right? And
I think
I'm sure. Is it different when he wrestles Chariti? How Yazdani? Yeah. Is it different? Is his mindset different, or is it like, let's go? I know he'll always say, "I just want to attack. I just want to attack. I just want to attack." Yeah. But when you're unsure, it's because these guys, the best in the world, they're the best counter wrestlers in the world.
Yeah, so definitely. The
Russians, you better be solid in your approach for sure.
Right. The Russians, Azerbaijan, Iranians, they're really good at defensive tactics. And I think David Taylor is definitely one of the wrestlers that's going to attack no matter what. But I think the Dake Chimizo build up, man, it's like for wrestling, it's kind of we're like not groundbreaking, but like this is the first time as wrestlers that we're putting our athletes through like these kind of press conference type situations where they're like battling with their words against each other and kind of talking smack. And I think that probably has a lot to do with it. Like you're building yourself up. So you kind of have this audience that expects you to win. It's like 50-50 split. Chimizo's definitely going to win. Dake's definitely going to win. It's going to be a tag. It's going to be 1 point. Like you just got all these ideas out there and you're backing it up with your own words. So I think there's a little pressure on that. That could have been part of it. But I think that was awesome too. Like hearing Chimizo in that, did you hear him in that sound booth when he was like, who are you? Who are you? World champ, fake weight class.
Like, no, but he's got to know who he is. What do you mean?
Do you really think he doesn't believe? He didn't like going into the match. You really think like he thought Dake was like he was just going to run through him?
Yeah, listen. These guys, again, I think a lot of this is hype. A lot of this is build up, and they did what they needed to do. They got people watching, and they built it up. And I think that's the way. And we're going to talk about this with Pat, I'm sure, but is the hype too much? Like I'm just listen. I love energy. I love the juice. I love the excitement. I love showmanship. But man, we're such a close knit wrestling community. And like we all know how hard each other trains. It's like, just respect it. And I know you were on this card, so you had to be the villain a little bit and kind of call Fletcher out when it started. And that's not you.
Just what you're saying. It was awkward. They came to Rhino. They were like, "You're going to be the villain," and obviously, like, my thing's mobbing, and Fletcher's like a really nice guy and like doesn't have that kind of persona. So it's like, I guess I got to be the villain. But I said to them, I was like, a villain? Like, I don't want to be the villain. Like, I feel like it definitely is part of it, getting the viewership up. But at some point, we got to find a happy medium and just be ourselves. And I definitely think that the Chimizo date was warranted. Like, great hype for it. But did we really need to make like RBY and Caldwell go talk? Like, Caldwell's fighting for a world championship in MMA, and Fletcher's just starting a senior level career. Like, I don't think either of them care to talk smack to each other. And it just creates.
Listen, RBY's on there praising DeSanto. Like, he's, and you can tell that, you know, maybe with us, maybe at Rutgers, it's kind of how we built our brand. We got some live wires, and people love them and people hate them, but people watch them. And then you could tell Penn State, with all their success, they're on a tight leash with what he can and can't say. Yeah. And RBY's been outspoken about that. So, yeah, I don't know. Just wrestle. Wrestle. Whatever.
Yeah, put some good hype in it, but be yourself. I think it's a good start, though, for sure, into, like,
no doubt. And it's good money, right? It's good money. These guys are getting paid.
I mean, heck, I lost out on a really good opportunity financially, but, you know, that's not all my motives. So that's one of the reasons why I backed out of the match. But yeah, definitely, if they were paying me what they were going to pay me, I can only imagine what they paid Dake and Taylor and Chimizo. So good for those guys, and they earn it, man. They're world champions. They went through the ringer. I'm sure they made a lot of sacrifices financially to get to that point, so they deserve it on the back end, man. And those are some of the things that I realize now, going like year by year. I was talking to my PT yesterday, you know, like, you go through phases where you think you know it all, then you go through phases you learn a little more. You're like, dang, I didn't know anything. And then you're like, learn a little bit. It's like ups and downs. Then you go back up. You're really confident. You think you know everything. Then you're like back down to like, dang, I really don't know anything again. So I think it's good for the sport. Definitely moving forward. I'm looking forward to getting my name on those cards, though, for sure, in the future. Just got to get right so I could have a longer longevity in this sport.
Well, I don't know if Pat's backstage or not, but hopefully if he's listening, we could get him to jump on here. But going forward, I saw all those guys. I saw all those guys, college guys, kind of get me on the card. I'll wrestle this guy. I'll wrestle. Now everybody wants to wrestle, right? Because some of those financials came out, and
now I'm gonna have to
everybody wants in now.
I'm gonna have to go win a big tournament to get my name on a card now.
Yeah,
it's like too many people advertising themselves for it.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys are kind of commenting in our chat here about Flo and about the banter. Yeah. Hey, listen, if it's going to bring some publicity to the sport and get people excited about it, but just make sure you're at that level. The one thing we don't need is a 7th and 8th grader thinking they're the next Burroughs or the next Ake or the next Cox and just talking smack just to talk smack. You better be able to back it up. So that's kind of the way I feel about it.
Yeah. And I think we're going to get a good perspective on Pat Mineo coming on. I think that a big argument is that people pay $150 a month, so they want perfection on the Flo service. So we could talk about that a little when he comes on. But backtrack a little bit, man. You hit up Butcher Block last night. We'll keep that. We keep Pat backstage for another 3 minutes, real quick. But yeah, man. Since quarantine, this household here in Spring Lake Heights, my house, Mikey, Jalen, me, we've been cooking a lot of meat, a lot of steak. So I'm excited that you went to Butcher Block. We've been picking up boxes from there all quarantine, you know. Big shout out to Traeger Grills. I think a lot of our population watching this is probably over 30 years old, 35 years old. So I would really recommend families get yourselves a Traeger grill, man. This thing is unreal. Cooks the best steak I've ever had. I put hot dogs in that thing at this point because it's like a smoker, but I use it like a regular grill. It's so good. It cooks the meat perfect. I think if you get the Butcher Block box, get yourself a Traeger, you'll have a better steak than actually going to Butcher Block.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you what, that was a good steak. That was a big steak. It was good. That place is good. And it's kind of just out there. It's in like an industrial park. It's crazy how he set it up. And I talked to the owner last night. He was out there and came and sat with us for a little bit and was like, I just had this idea and I tried it and it blew up and here we are. So, and that place was packed. And we ate at 8:00 at night leaving at 10, and people were still coming in.
It's going to be like
It's
Miami,
crazy.
in Miami, or one of those cities where people start coming in before they go out to New York City or something.
So
It's getting
I
real.
appreciate Malka and Malice hooking us up with that hookup. It was a good spot for sure.
It's a really cool idea, like you said. Like I don't know many people in the Long Branch, like New Jersey area, that know it, but it's like it's in their downtown. By no means is it in like a restaurant district where there's a lot of restaurants in the area. It's kind of just by itself, and it's really cool atmosphere. Kind of feels like you're in a different country. Like you're just like,
no, you're right.
It's like vines, wood, stones, like stone walls. You can't even see the streets. Like you get in that restaurant, it's like you're in there. It's like its own little world.
All right, we got Minio backstage. We'll bring him on. Guys, throw out some questions here. We'll get him to Pat. We're going to keep this as PG as possible. So be smart, be solid with your questions, and get those in. Sammy tweeted it was the last time. Right, there's our boy.
Nice shirt, baby.
I love it.
What's up, Pat? Love it, man. Good morning.
How you doing? You hear us good? Good connection here?
I can hear you good, Goody. I love the Yankees. Awesome.
Yeah, you know what? You know why he's got that banner up? Let's fat him out real quick. You know, he's hiding his Jackson football memorabilia because Zach's playing Jackson this year. Tom's River North versus Jackson.
The schedule came out last night. The schedule came out yesterday, so we're gonna play Jackson. So he doesn't want me having any of this crap on the wall. So I gotta. But it's all good. It's all good. How you been, man? Everything good?
For Zach too. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. We're excited. We're excited. It's a place he always wanted to be. I knew that. He's got some work to do, but we're never afraid of that. So it'll be good.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you heard us talking before this, but yeah, we're excited to have you on. You know, we're talking about the Flow matches and a little bit about Fight TV matches going on and just the production process. And obviously, man, you're a huge presence right now in the wrestling world and social media, just putting your perspective out there and putting facts out there about the sport. And we'll appreciate that a lot. Just growing the sport, you know, any kind of media, good or bad, is good. You know, I mean, we don't want terrible media, but you know, just giving the people information, it makes us more like ESPN with other sports, just making it real-time news. And I definitely appreciate that. So thank you for doing what you do and just being passionate about it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. And I hope you're healing up well. I know that was tough, probably watching that Flow card, not being on it, you know, rooting for it. And just the buzz for the sport is awesome. Whatever we can get right now during this pandemic, it's kind of weird. I feel like the wrestling world has come together even closer, right? Everyone's tuned in. So we need that buzz. Like you said, with ESPN, Adam Schefter, and you see all these live updates. We want to be respectful, but we also want to create some buzz and some competition, right? For those in the media world. So it's good to get information out, have people talking. The sport needs it right now, man, because it's been tough with the programs getting cut, other uncertain things. So yeah, just trying to do my part and show my passion for the sport, man. You know, I love it.
Well, we appreciate that, man.
Let me ask you this, Pat. Speaking of like programs getting cut, you get a lot of incredible information. And when you throw something up, we listen. That's the bottom line. I told you that a couple months ago. When Pat Minio throws something up on the board, he's not just throwing it up to throw it up. There's some smoke behind it. So what are you hearing, the landscape of college wrestling? Are there any programs in jeopardy? You don't have to name them if you don't want. I get it. But is there work we need to do as coaches? Where are you at with all that?
Yeah, and I think what happened with Stanford was a wake-up call, right? They have like a $27 billion endowment. They still cut their program, cut a bunch of other programs. That was a wake-up call, and I think that kind of sent shockwave through the wrestling community. Like, hey, if this can happen at Stanford, a school who is well-funded, there might be some other schools in jeopardy. And I think a lot has to do with the landscape this fall, right? If fall sports are canceled or when they start, you know, that impacts the cash flow of a lot of colleges and universities. So, I mean, unfortunately, I think we can probably expect a couple more programs may get cut, depending on the conference. That's the reality of it. But we as a community have to try and come together and combat that, like we did with the Olympics, right? We just got to come together. But it's inevitable with this pandemic, man. Just like you see with businesses across America facing hard times, colleges are making hard decisions too. So I definitely think there's some other programs that are in jeopardy. And I hope that before they do get axed, if they do, the community can come and support and try and save them. That's my, my hope, that we'll know beforehand that they're in jeopardy so that we can actually do something about it before it's too late.
Yeah, that would be key to just get fundraising started and getting lobbyists behind scenes working. Because it's like, as much as these things are money issues, you come to find out like they're not really money issues sometimes. So it's funny. You just got to know the whole story, and it's tough because these administrators that are on the academic side, sometimes they don't want to be hand in hand with the athletic side, or they want more success in other areas. And they're very biased, and they're getting pulled very heavily in one direction. So it's tough. We don't have the full story sometimes.
Absolutely. It's tough, man, with everything trying to balance out the men's and women's sports. And it's just like a balancing act. And, these schools make tough decisions. And then, a lot of the time wrestling is at some schools the first one to go on the chopping block. So going back to that, we need to keep creating buzz for the sport, get it hyped, bring people in, and keep it going, man.
Yeah. Oh, based off of that, where do you get some of that information? Like I feel like you're saying these things before anyone else has them. And I was telling Goody before you came on, like, it's like you said these outlandish things, you're like, what the heck? And then they started coming true. And it's like, oh, this guy, he tweets something, you pay attention, or he says something, you pay attention, see what's going on. But
and I want to know this, and when are you like, all right, now I can post, I feel confident right now, I'm throwing it up there? That's what I want to know.
And a lot of times it is a waiting game, right? Because you don't want to post.
It's a rumor at first, maybe.
Yeah, you don't want to always post something that's not confirmed or there isn't legs behind it. But I just think throughout my entire life and just, in the recent years, I built relationships with people across the country in different programs. And it's allowed me to create a sense of trust with them. And a lot of folks will give me a hard time, right? But, if people didn't like me, I wouldn't be getting this information, right? If everyone hated me, I wouldn't be getting this information. So,
right.
It's just built a lot of relationships across the country. I'm a very sociable guy, love chatting about wrestling, and just making those new relationships with people in different programs. So, people give me little tidbits here and there. And then I have other guys within the sport that I can try and verify them with. And a lot of the times we're on top of it, right? And at the same time, we're trying to juggle. We want to be respectful, but, with some of the news, it can be put out there on the spot, and that's how we're trying to roll with it and create the buzz.
Right.
Was that your inspiration to have this wrestling room that you do, your show? Was that what was behind it, just to be able to kind of talk wrestling all the time and give news, and how's that going?
Yeah, and that absolutely was my inspiration, Goody. I mean, I've been in forums since I was like a young kid, like 7th grade, like age 12. I used to be in that Best on Mat forum, the NJ forum. I used to be posting in there. So even when I was competing throughout the years, I would love to be ingrained in that. I just thought it was awesome.
Are you cock robbing?
I was actually Mr. Good Picks back in the day on Best on Mat. But yeah, there was some crazy characters on there, but just those forums, growing up with that and seeing how it connected the community and people debating about rankings and matches, and that's kind of was my vision for the wrestling room at first. Create a place where people can come together and chat wrestling and get up to date on the spot news. And it kind of blew up from there. And it's going really well. We're up to, I think we've been at it for about 6 or 7 months, 4,000 members.
Wow.
So there's a lot of folks in there who come there for, breaking news or content. And we keep it light. We keep it fun. It's a fun place to be. And I think a lot of that inspiration just came from, my passion for the sport and wanting to share that with others. And, it's a good time, man.
Yeah. We're not that mad that you picked the wrestling room for your podcast, because then people Google it and then they end up on our podcast. So it's like,
I didn't even know we were doing that.
It's all good. So like, people are asking in our comments, like, what's the inspiration for his wrestling room podcast? But like, hey, they type in the wrestling room, Ashnault and Goodell come up on YouTube, so it's cool.
Exactly. So it works. And the logo for the wrestling room for my group is in the backdrop. If you ever notice, it's the Rutgers wrestling room.
Let's go.
You wouldn't be able to notice, but we got that connection. So now we're meshing, and one
hopefully,
big wrestling room where we can all grapple. Right?
Hopefully they tune into both. You know, they get all the information and the good, the bad, the ugly. You know,
absolutely, man. Love it.
Let's get a little juicy here, man, because I know our viewers want to hear it. Let's talk Downey. I know you were good with him. It was good. It was a good relationship, and then boom, he just changes. And you don't have to get. I love Pat Downey. I really do. I like the guy. It didn't work out. That's part of the business, right? And there's reasons for it. And I'm sure eventually maybe he comes after me. That's part of it. I get it. That's the role I'm in. But you are in a different realm where it goes back and forth and doesn't stop. But what are your thoughts on that whole situation? Was it warranted? Sometimes I think Pat just needs to say nothing.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree. Yeah. And the worst part of it is deep down, you know, I've met Pat at Final X. I've talked to him. We had a good relationship, like you said. And deep down, you know, he is a good guy. And I think part of his persona and the hype that people have brought on him, he kind of acts out like that. But man, sometimes you go too far, and especially in today's social media, you can't step back. So like you said, sometimes it's better to pull back. And that's even something, you know, I've learned over time. Sometimes you got to pull back, especially on Twitter or social media.
Yeah.
But with Pat, it's unfortunate what went down. And I think he spoke a little too much, and people screenshot those tweets when they come out. So it's not good for endorsements, you know, Barbarian Apparel, whatever it may be. It's not good for the RTC when you're making bold statements like that. It's okay to give your opinion, but when you're being that rash about it, it can create some backlash.
Yeah, you know, he's very open with everything he's doing, and it's a tough world, man. So much judgment in our world. So like you say one wrong thing, or one, not even, maybe in his opinion, it's not wrong. Maybe it's just something he feels. So it's like you say one thing and everyone disagrees. It's too late, man. Judgment's a powerful thing. People have like a whole network of people that are relying on their judgment. So it's like if people back those claims up, sometimes they feel they're in danger. And it's just a tough situation for him. I hope he could rebound and get maybe a sponsor, get back on the right track. Because he does have talent, man. We saw it. Like he goes from not even having a school to go to in college to 3 years later making the world team. And just because David Taylor is not in the weight doesn't mean it was given to him. He beat the next 2 to 7, 2 to 8 best guys in our country at that weight. And he went 3-2 at the world tournament. He did a lot better than some of the guys on our own team.
Yeah, man. He's got all the talent in the world, and he's already proved so many people wrong along the way. So that's why it was a little disappointing to see how that happened. Like you said, all it takes is one tweet or one comment. I hope he bounces back, right? We hope everyone bounces back when they make mistakes like that. Just got to keep your head on straight and move forward and make sure that he's more cognizant of what gets put out there now. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this, Pat. This is a really good segue to my next question. Clearly, Downey has built his brand on being the villain, right? Being outspoken and not caring. And 50% of the people love it and laugh at it and excited about it. And the other 50% don't like him. But that's the way he built his brand. And when he was with us, we would always say, listen, just chill out on some things. But for the most part, let him go. And again, he went overboard. But it's totally opposite approach of some other guys. Do you think wrestling is being pushed in that direction where it's all about building a hype up and building a story up before an actual match? Because for me, I look at guys who talk a lot. You better be able to back that up. That's like you have to be able to back that up. And I know I have a great relationship with Frankie Edgar, and they've even asked him to be a little bit more outspoken and go after people and tweet. And that's just not him. He wants to work out, train, fight, get back to his family, do it all again. So, but there's this thing now. It's like you have to build this brand. I don't know where you're at with that, but is that the way wrestling's going?
I mean, it's tough, right? It's a double-edged sword, right? We want to grow the sport, and you see stuff like the UFC where, you know, these guys are sometimes acting crazy. And then with wrestling, you know, we're a little more reserved for the most part. and then you see kind of Flo setting these guys up. You can, having them talk trash to each other to hype up a card. I understand it from a certain aspect, but some of it's kind of like, people look at it like, what's going on? Some of the trash talk. I mean, that JB Dake stuff,
Is that
it
real?
was a little uncomfortable, right? You could tell Jordan didn't really want to be engaged like that, but Dake's just kind of awkward the way he throws things out. So it's kind of weird, but you can tell it's being pushed in that direction, like you said, Goody. Whether it's Flo or whoever else, they're trying to push these guys to create more of a draw. I understand that, but at the same token, like you said, you got to be able to back it up. You can't lose to a guy 7 times and then make excuses and tell him that you're not going to beat me. Hey man, be humble and do it on the mat, and then start talking.
Yeah.
So Anthony, this is for you really, and like I can't picture you calling out Zane Rutherford when you have to wrestle Yanni, when you have to wrestle McKenna, and there's so many others in that weight. That's just, for me, there's other guys you should respect. That's just me. Like, there's got to be a respect thing. It can't just, I'm going to beat the number one guy and I'm going to kick it. There's other guys in there that work just as hard and are just as good. And maybe not at Dake's level. I get it. Those two are probably, but there's other guys, man, that I just think, just like you said, be humble and wrestle. I don't know where you're at with that, Anthony, but there's a lot of guys you got to go through.
Yeah, it's hard for me to just talk about someone unless like it's a match I got coming up or it's something I'm focusing on. Like of course, if you ask me like a hit list of guys I want to wrestle, like I want to wrestle like Yanni, Zane, Jordan Oliver, like Bajrang and guys like that. But I mean, like, I'm not going to talk smack about them. I want to train hard and have the opportunity to go beat them and show that I'm the best in the world. Like, they obviously work hard too. Like, and if I know facts that they don't, or they do slip up in other areas, like, I mean, I'm not the kind of person, I'm going to take that and have more confidence for myself going into the match. I'm not going to be like, well, I heard Jordan Oliver is not actually lifting and he's just getting fat right now, and that's why he weighs 185. Like, I could say that, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say like maybe he's just bigger and he's in shape up there. And yeah. But like, no, like I'm saying, I'm not gonna, like, in my head, like I've had those thoughts, like when he was coming at me, like just saying like he's big, like I'm like, dang, like you're big, are you fat, are you big? Like, because I could get big, everyone could get big, and you could lose it kind of easy. But I'm not gonna say that. Like, I'm just gonna take it for what it is and try my best to get him to the weight class that I feel comfortable. But it is what it is. Like, I'll do my best to be respectful, but try my best to build my brand at the same time. And there's definitely things, I think if you go on my social media, like there's things that I like flirt with, but I'm never going to go on the other side and try to be that villain.
Yeah.
So I got some stuff from Pat just following up on all this, like you're putting so much out there and you're getting all this information in. This is obviously not your full-time job and you're not getting paid for this. So I was wondering, what do you do for a living, man? And how was there a point in your actual job where you're like, dang, I need more excitement in my life. I need to get back. I need to get back in the mix of wrestling, or I was just wondering, like, cause you've been wrestling. I mean, in high school with my brother, probably, would you graduate in like 07, 08?
Yeah. Right around the time of your brother. Right? I see you having the CBA hat for Billy there too.
Yeah. Yeah. I still got Tiger pride, but repping Billy, but yeah, like, so you've been around wrestling, you went to East Stroudsburg, around wrestling there, you graduate, you kind of take a break from like being involved into the sport. What made you kind of jump back into it? Like, I want to get my name back in this mix, follow some news, enlighten some people.
Yeah, man. And that's exactly it. Kind of after you stop wrestling, you drift away from that connection a little bit from the sport, and it sucks. Right. And then, getting back into it through what I love, just talking about wrestling and being passionate. I mean, since I graduated college, I work in sales, and I'm working from home now for the past, since March. So I'm at home, and a lot of other people are, and it gives you a better chance to be tuned in. I work for a company called Dun & Bradstreet, so I work in sales there. I worked at ADP prior to that, so 2 pretty big companies. I'm fortunate enough to be working from home and doing my thing, and also being able to balance being a part of the wrestling world. And I think just in the past few years after I graduated college, you miss it, right? You miss wrestling, you miss the sport. So I just got involved the only way I know how to connect with people online, through forums, through content. And I never lost that passion for the sport. So I think just staying involved, even though I stopped competing, has just led me to where I'm at now, you know, making those connections and just being ingrained in the sport. And then the followers came from there, right? When you're putting out good content and information, people want to know what's up. They hear the buzz, and that's something we need for the sport, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
I got a question for, go ahead, Ant.
Does that, I mean, it's almost got to the point where I feel like I go on Twitter, and I mean, I'm not saying like to be like mean. I'm just saying what I think when I go on Twitter. I feel like I'm seeing your tweets in like every 5 minutes. Like I'm like looking through it. It's like not 40 minutes ago. I'm like, dang, like Pat's tweeting again or retweeting this or favoriting that. It's like, do you have like these certain guys like on alerts, or are you like just have stuff open and you're like just really on top of it?
Yeah, no, I'm on top of it. And like, I have, you know, I'm pretty good with social media. That's, you know, I work in marketing and sales, and in school, I studied communications media. So I set up a bunch of things where I can share stuff on multiple platforms, get alerted and stuff like that to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a fast paced world now, right? Twitter, you see Adam Schefter on top of it. So just through social media, it's allowed me to be more connected. And that's where we have to grow the sport, right? Through social media, on the mat, off the mat. But yeah, I stay pretty well connected there, you know, with this phone of mine that I'm talking to you on.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any secret apps or any platforms where you got all the platforms up at one time and you could kind of share it out?
Yeah, there's some social media apps in the App Store where you can literally shoot out and favorite, you know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, same time, and you can share everything at once. So yeah, it's pretty neat because it makes it a little bit easier, right? So when I share something in the wrestling room group that I have, it can bounce out on Twitter, right? So that you're not spending so much time there. But you know, that allows it to be more streamlined. There's a couple apps that you can choose from there that kind of bring everything together and allow you to manage your pages all at once, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Let me get your thoughts on we talked about, I know where you stand with Burroughs, Dake. You obviously a huge Jordan fan, and you should feel really, really good about that match because he's beating them. But thoughts on Taylor calling out Sadulayev? Is that something? Is he biting off too much there? I love David Taylor. I think he's the best guy in the world right now. That's my opinion. But is that too much, you think?
I love DP as well. And you go give your.
I was just gonna say before you go on your opinion, I'm just gonna say like it's an all-star match in one aspect. So it's like people want him to call out Cox, but it's an all-star match, and they're asking him on an all-star platform. So it's like, of course he's gonna go all out, but I don't know. I see people's opinion on both sides. Go ahead, Pat. Though.
Yeah, and I understand that too. You know, a lot of people, even myself, I was like, hey, if you're gonna call out the Tank, you better get through Cox and Snyder first, right? We want to see you wrestle them again, or Cox at least again. I don't know. I like the fire behind it. I mean, Dake called out Sidakov, and then Taylor, I think, called out the Russian Tank. And, you know, I don't know if the Tank's going to bite on that. I don't know if it was such a good idea, but I admire David. He's a beast, man, the Magic Man. He's wanting the best. I can't wait to see him wrestle in Tokyo. Was it a good idea? I don't know. I think it was cool that he called him out, but I wouldn't mess with the Tank like that. I mean, you saw what the guy did. He pinned Snyder, so I don't know. It'd be a cool match to watch, that's for sure. But he'd be going up.
It's kind of.
I actually like that matchup, man. I really do. I know it would have to be a catch weight, I'm assuming, but
yeah,
it's a little interesting because David's training with Kyle Snyder now. So does he have some inside thoughts? Like, is he? You know, like, is he beating Schneider or something in the room? And he's like, hey, I'm taking it to him. I could beat this guy. I'm beating Schneider fine.
I think it has a little bit to do with the payout.
Yeah. You could lose that. You could lose that match and not be that mad, I'm sure.
Exactly. So we have a question here. Where does Greco stand in the U.S. from youth on up? Are athletes interested? And Anthony, do you have a Greco-only teammate? So I'll start with this, and Pat, you know, let's talk about women's and Greco wrestling. There isn't a huge. Nobody comes to Rutgers and says, "Put me through a Greco training regimen." You know, they don't. We have Eleazar DeLuca, who's a Greco guy, loves Greco, but he does it kind of on his own, and we bring some guys in. Graf trained. He wasn't going to go down to 125 or. So he was training Greco for a while. That really didn't work out. He's a freestyle wrestler, but he was in there training. But nobody grows up. They do it Heck, I did it. I didn't do Fargo when I was wrestling. It was Northern Iowa. But I always wrestled Greco. But there was never a huge Greco presence, especially in our state, right? I'm sure you see that. But what is your thoughts on Greco and even women's wrestling?
Yeah, so as far as Greco, that's something that participation is everything, right? In the U.S., it's tough because when you're younger, kids usually start out with folk style and then they'll go into freestyle, right? Fargo, everything. I think Goody, you even coached me in Fargo a few years.
Sure.
Yeah, me and my brother. But with Greco, a lot of folks aren't familiar with it. I think when I was younger, I entered one Greco tournament, and it ended up being a round robin with Ashnell, your boys, Jakubik and Dory. It was us three.
I was saying that before you came on, that you used to wrestle them.
And it was me, Jakubik, and Dory in a round robin in Greco in like, I think 8th or 9th grade. And we were all like, we don't wrestle Greco, but let's toss each other, right? But it comes down to participation. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of participation in Greco. We need to shed more light on it because those highlights we see of our Olympic Greco guys tossing people, those are awesome, right? We need to give more coverage to Greco at the same time, encourage more participation at a younger age. I know it's not easy because when you're young, kids are playing baseball, football, wrestling. It's tough to balance that. But as far as Greco, we need more coverage and participation. When it comes to the women, I think New Jersey overall has been doing an amazing job with putting together the region and state tournament for the girls of New Jersey, bringing them down to AC and showcasing them. What we're seeing with the USA women's team as well, advocating for more coverage. They deserve it, man. I know Flo or whoever might say they're not as much of a draw, whatever it may be, but they need the coverage in order to get that. I mean, some of these girls are winning medals at the Olympic world level. They need the coverage. And girls wrestling is catching on quick, not just in New Jersey, but across the country, right? We're seeing it. More states are adapting it and bringing on programs. That's a good thing for the women of our sport, and we got to keep that rolling.
Listen, I think
they need the coverage.
I think it has to get into our college programs. I mean, you talk about trying to save programs and Title IX and stuff. I think women's wrestling needs to get into the college more at the D1 level and at these big Power 5 schools. That's just my opinion. I think that will help and go a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In these other countries with Greco, man, it's like two different sports, man. They'll have like a freestyle training center and the Greco training center might be on the other side of the country, and they don't really intertwine. So, I mean, as much as Americans want to grow Greco, we do need to grow Greco. We need to have a stronger presence and we need to make people more aware, but it's its own sport. Like, I don't think we have to integrate like people like it's wrestling. Like, well, why don't we have Greco only clubs that are teaching Greco and have guys that specialize in Greco? Because that's what these other countries are doing from a young age. So I think we need more education and more awareness, like you're saying.
Where I believe your boys with I can't mention the school or their name, but Matt Veris, your boys with Matt and who I think is one of the best coaches in the country. He's the up and coming star. They have a great program there. Are you living out there? Are you living near that high school? Are you involved in that program?
Yeah, I've been able to see that program almost blossom out of thin air, and a lot of it goes back to Matt, right? Matt came over. He's made a name in the Valley. He went to Blair from Phillipsburg, and he's from Jersey. And as soon as he came to Notre Dame, they got a lot of haters, but you can't hate on what he's doing. He completely turned that program around. And I'm able to see it. I'm living just 10 minutes from that school. I'm in Northampton. That school is right in Easton, Bethlehem, right on the border there. And it's a small school. And what he's been able to do is amazing. I mean, they were just the AA state champs. They had a couple state champs individually, a bunch of placers. They're not only that, but he's taken the guys to Ironman, Beast, setting up these power matches. So, the school gets a lot of haters because it's a private school. It's a Catholic school. In Jersey, we're used to that. In PA, they're still a little salty about those things.
Sure.
Yeah, we're used to that in Jersey. But, what he's doing, he's just doing an amazing job with what he has there and building a program. He's going to have a long career as one of the top coaches in the state, top teams in the state. I mean, look at that kid, Ryan Crookham. He is an absolute hammer. he's going to be a multiple-time NCAA champ, in my opinion.
Yeah, they got some good ones for sure. Let me ask you this: top 3 wrestling areas in the country. And I know you're going to put the Valley in there, right? But top 3, putting you on the spot.
Put me on the spot.
3.
I always say the Lehigh Valley, PA, but I gotta, I'll say just New Jersey as a whole. That area as a whole, we'll go Jersey. But you gotta the Lehigh Valley, PA, the history here. I lived in Jersey obviously for 18 years. I've been here for 12, 13 years. I've gotten to experience both. The Lehigh Valley, PA is awesome. It's just a hotbed. You have so many teams and so much history here. You got that Clovis, California area, which is another hotbed. And then, you have pockets of Ohio there as well, where it's a hotbed. So it's tough, man. Jersey, Lehigh Valley, Cali, Ohio, however you balance it out. When you're competing in these spots, you see guys taking like 3rd in the district tournament, then placing top 2, 3 in the state. So it's pretty awesome.
Now, there's no doubt there's some really, really good pockets. And being on the recruiting trail, right, you can you see those. But the Valley in California, the Valley in PA, Pittsburgh wrestling, the PAL or the Whippeal, the Whippeal, just huge. And is that your ties in the Valley? Is that where you and Willie get back together, or what's the deal? And there's some people here commenting on the Jersey Shore. I didn't want to say that, but there's no question the Shore Conference at one point was just as good as the Valley. I'm being honest.
It's crazy, man. Right when I was graduating, my senior year at my weight, you were coaching Burns. You had Mendito, Burns, and Lano, and they came in and they finished. What was it? 1, 2, 4.
1, 2, 4.
Yeah. And I had to wrestle Burns. You coached him that match. That might have been your last year coaching at Jackson before Rutgers, but. I don't know if you remember, you coached Burns, and we had a great match. He actually beat me and upset me in the States, and had a.
He picked top. I bet he picked top, right?
He picked top, Goody. Man. I took him down, and he ended up winning states next year. Great guy.
Yeah, he was good.
But he picked top on me, Goody, and I'll tell you, I always pick bottom. And after the match, I'm like to my dad, man, I couldn't get out.
He was so good, man. Toughest kid I ever coached.
Yeah,
toughest kid I ever coached. Just tough.
He's just a tough kid, and that whole conference was lights out. That's why they had to change up the whole state and realign it.
Yeah, they did. That probably was a big reason, honestly. Like the Region 6, people are getting frustrated. Their kids aren't making it out. That have a good year, they had to change it up because of that.
It had a lot to do with it. The coaches weren't real. I don't think they needed the drastic change. Just move it a little bit. But this is good, man.
We got a comment in the comments from Michael just talking about women's wrestling. I just want to clear the air. By no means, I think women's wrestling should be on these cards. Definitely 100% to get the sport where it needs to be. I think all 3 of us agree. We're just trying to say a little bit of both sides of the story. But women's wrestling needs to keep growing and be on these cards, and we need to support that in order for their sport to grow. It's going to be a major part in saving college sports, like Coach Gooddow was talking about.
Yeah. And then here's one here. Here's a comment here, USA Wrestling. Patrick is in the chat saying Greco's no extra cost on USA Wrestling New Jersey circuit. Pay for one style and wrestle both. They've been doing that for years. Mm-hmm. Kids don't want to show up and do both. I don't know why. It is what it is.
Well, just like Pat was saying, you want to do both, but then you do both and you have the same round robin in freestyle as you have the same round robin in Greco. I don't want to wrestle the same kids 2 times each, in each style. So I'm going to wrestle 4 matches versus 1 kid. You might make the finals versus the same kid in both styles and wrestle a best out of 3 versus the same kid in each style. It's why don't we just go to practice? We live 15 minutes.
You want to grow Greco in your sport? Here's my opinion. Bring in a coach, specific Greco coach, and let him open up a club like Ernie did 30 years ago, right? Like all the clubs are doing now. Make it a Greco club. And maybe it starts with 10 to 15 guys. But if you get into Greco, you go to this club. That's how you get Greco going in the state. That's just my opinion.
I like that.
Absolutely. I like that. Club wrestling, man. It's catching fire as it should. And like you said, Ernie, I was an edge guy back in the day. He started a great trend, and you're seeing more clubs pop up to specialize in things like freestyle and folk. And if a Greco club would be cool, because then you get kids in at a young age learning Greco, and that's what you see in other countries. Like you said, Ash, they're just doing it from a young age, and that's how you grow that area of the sport.
Yeah.
Here's a cool question. And see this? What are the top 3 high school national tournaments? So here's what I want. I would like to know from your perspective, Pat. National tournaments, what are the top 3? I think we kind of know those, right? I would say Fargo, Ironman, Beast maybe, or Fargo, Ironman. I don't know. Whatever. Doc. High school tournaments.
It depends what year it is, man. I mean, if you go 30 years ago, Super 32 is not around. You go like,
oh yeah, Super 32, sure.
Or I don't know. I mean, I think Fargo, Ironman, and then depending on the year, like Super 32, Beast, Powerades even in the mix at this point. Like, I don't know. It depends what weight class and what year.
What do you think, Pat?
It depends on the weight class and the year, and a lot of people debate this every year, and it changes every year, right? Some year you have guys at Ironman who win Ironman, and then they're in the Beast. They take 3rd, 4th in the Beast. It all depends on the day and the weight class, and some weights are deeper than others. Ironman, Beast, Fargo, Powerade, Super 32. All those tournaments are tough as nails. I know Ironman now, people regard that as the toughest. I mean, back in my day, I know Beast was, the big one. And man, I had to wrestle 7 matches at Beast, and I came out with a beat up face and a black eye, and it was awesome. But It was a grind. And now I think you see a lot of national tournaments, right? There's a new one popping up every year, but I think you nailed it with Beast, Ironman, Fargo. Fargo will always be, one of the toughest.
Yep.
And wrestling there is like nowhere else.
Yeah, and I wrestled going back to Greco. I wrestled Greco and Fargo, and there is a club in New Jersey, Matt Ciempa. I don't know if you guys ever trained there at Eclipse.
Yeah,
Eclipse Wrestling Club. And they train, I mean, it's not Greco only, but it's freestyle and Greco only. And I'd say in New Jersey, you're going to get the most Greco knowledge and tools for your game going to that club. And I'd say it competes with, I don't know really what Greco clubs are around the country, but Matt taught me a lot of Greco that I still use to this day in folk style and freestyle. And like, I think if I never learned Greco or competed in Greco, like I took 4th in Fargo, and I don't think I had the skill set to win, but it taught me so much skills and how to battle and how to hand fight and how to hit an arm spin or a lat drop and be confident in those positions where I would never be confident in those positions if I never wrestled Greco.
Mm-hmm. And Matt's a great coach. I actually have gone there a few times myself, and what he's been doing it a long time up there in that Parsippany area. So yeah, that's a good shout out, Eclipse. I love that. That brought me back to some practices there.
Yeah.
We actually have some guys from the shore that go up there. Jeff Gauthier's kids go up to Ciempa. It's a long ride, but that's the only Greco club really going on. So that's kind of where they go. And Ciempa, heck, we bring Ciempa into Rutgers to show top, parterre offense, parterre defense. The guy's a wizard when it comes to international wrestling. So I've always fell back on him. And
I know he's got a little. I know he's got a little older, but I just remember him being like freakishly strong when he grabbed me.
He's got
freaking
yeah. I was like, I would be like, how do you do this or that? And then he grabs me. I'm like, that's how you do it. Like, you just be that strong.
I got one more for you, dog. What do we need to do? What does college wrestling need to do to keep going forward, to get away from the NCAA basketball, to make it a household? It can't just be 3 days in March. What does college wrestling need to do where it's on the mind of every administrator, every sports fan, not just wrestling fan, sports fan? What has to happen?
Yeah, and I think first and foremost, we got to get the coverage, to actually bring this to the mainstream, right? It's cool that ESPN, like you said, has been bringing the NCAA tournament to us, but that's about it, right? That stops there for them for the most part. We need to expand our coverage, create more buzz, bring more big names endorsing the sport, and just be outspoken about the sport of wrestling and try to bring in as much positive buzz as possible. But we need the coverage, man. And it's not just the coverage for men's freestyle or NCAA wrestling. It's the coverage as a whole, right? Because there's that little girl in, I don't know, Idaho, right, who might want to grow up, and she's 10 years old, and she says, all right, what's this sport? And she can look up to the women of our sport and start wrestling. there's people all over the country that can benefit from this sport. So we have to make sure we're covering all aspects of it. Otherwise, if you're not covering all aspects, we can't complain that the sport isn't growing. So it starts with coverage. It starts with things like this right here, where we're getting together, we're chatting and I think that's great. And we're moving forward for the most part.
Yeah, man. And you're a big part of some of that, shedding light on different topics. So continue to do that. Continue to stay positive on it. We appreciate you coming and spreading some of that stuff to our fans and our viewers. I'll leave you with one last question here. Goody might want to hit you with his secret island question, but let me leave you with this. And just remember, Lolo Burroughs might be coming at you again, so be smart here. But you got Olympics 2021, who's making the team 74 kilos and who's making the team at 97 kilograms?
All right. This is a tough one. So 74, obviously, love the guy. He's just, people doubted him a couple of years ago. After Olympics, he's been coming back even stronger. I got Burroughs over Dake yet again. I mean, he's there waiting for him. And he's going to take that spot. And then moving up, man, I love Cox. I love Snyder. This is a tough one for me. Cox has been incredible, but I think the move to Nittany Lion Wrestling Club for Kyle Snyder, I think that's going to do wonders. I'm going to take Snyder. I'm going to go with JV Snyder for those spots. I love Kyle. And I wouldn't be surprised, but Kyle might have a chip on his shoulder.
I see him out at the training lab, so it's definitely incorporating new things and opening his mind up right now.
Yeah, I think it's a change, and he saw he needed a change. And like I said, Cox is unbelievable. I mean, Cox could win very well, but I'm going to take Snyder because, whenever we seem to doubt somebody in this sport, they come back and just, it's like, boom.
It'll be exciting, that's for sure. I'm excited to see those matches. Hopefully we get to get a early preview of what the Olympic trials will look like in October at the Senior Nationals. We got word that there's going to be a Senior World Championships at the Olympic weights, and there'll be another vote in late August on it with the IOC, I believe. But hopefully that goes through, man. It's good for wrestling to have a World Championships, because think about it. If we go fast forward to next year and they have an Olympic tournament, then we would be taken away from what the 2021 World Championships would have been. So I think it's awesome for wrestling. And on top of that, there's rumors that USA maybe didn't want to send a team. I really hope that's not the case. Let's support our athletes and give them a chance to go win a world title.
Yep, we got to compete. We got to show up and as many events as possible, as much buzz as possible. We got to do it. I mean, we got to be there to grow the sport. So I agree. I hope that happens, and looking forward to it, man. I've been, that Flo event was awesome because we hadn't seen much live wrestling in a little while. You had the Fight TV card, which was awesome. So it's good to get matches back out there, and I think we're all hungry for more after what happened with NCAAs last year.
Definitely, man.
Pat, get going here. I won't add. You want the island question? Who you bringing to the island? You can't bring your wife. You can't bring your two kids. Who obviously they're allowed to come. So you're getting stuck on an island. You're stuck on an island. Who do you want with you? You get 3 people.
3 people. All right.
3 people.
Anybody or any sport of wrestling?
No,
that's up to you. No. It could be anybody.
Comedy.
All right, and so it's just straight.
Yeah, if you want your mom or dad, brother, they could just be there waiting too.
All right, cool. The island question. Oh, this is tough, man. This feels like a test. All right. If I'm going to an island, I'm gonna bring. Let's see. You, Goody. I'll bring you to the island, and
attaboy. I don't want to get stuck on an island.
You'll be stuck on an island with me. Bring your irons, bring your golf clubs. We'll hit out of the sand.
Yep.
Also, let me see. Who else would I bring? Oh, this is a tough one. I'll bring. I'll go all in the sport of wrestling. I'll bring Goody. I'll bring. I will bring Sanderson and, two amazing coaches in the NCAA. And then I'll go with Dan Gable. So it'll be me, Cal Sanderson, and Dan Gable hanging on the island, me and Goody chipping balls out of the sand. Gable probably cracking open a beer. And Cal will probably be sitting there like this with a blank face.
I was going to say, it's a great group of wrestlers, but I really just think that you and Goody would be talking the whole time. And
we would. We would. I would just like to see those guys' reaction to
yeah.
Cal would be like,
well, listen, man, this has been awesome. This has been fun. I know so many people are watching this right now. You bring a buzz. You bring a buzz. Go work on your golf game because I want to get you out. Yeah. I played, check this out. I played Plainfield Tuesday, and Nick Dory was my caddy.
Yeah, he told me. He told me caddy for you and Donnie. He told me all about it.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
Pritzlaw's pretty good.
Yeah, you were
got better?
in Ants Hood. You were at Plainfield Country Club. So I need to work on my game, and I got to get out with you. But I'm getting a little better. I'm not on your level yet, but we'll see. More practice.
That's okay.
Makes it, man. I love the sport. It's fun. I'm getting old, so got to settle into something, right? I'm 31 now.
You're the man. Thanks so much for coming on, my man. Appreciate everything you do.
Good.
Have a good rest of the day, man.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. Keep doing your thing and, growing the sport. And, I'm here.
Yeah, man. Keep doing your thing.
Man.
See you guys.
All right. That was.
Have a good day.
Yep. That was pretty cool, dude. He's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. And sometimes you got to meet the people behind the Twitter, right? You got to meet the people behind the social media.
Yeah. And I think
these guys.
I think you were a little nervous to have him on based on like my excitement about having him on. I think you thought I'd maybe like try to get him to say some things, but I really wanted to just hear his perspective out because you read some of the tweets and you just jump to conclusions, like people bashing him, high level people quote tweeting him and saying things about him. I just wanted to hear him out and learn a little bit about him. And I'm definitely happy I got to hear that out.
Yeah. Michael says Pat should be a weekly guest. You bring him on for 10 minutes to give us the latest juice, the latest gossip, and see where we're at with everything. That ain't a bad idea. I got no problem with that.
Right. And he's a good guy. So he doesn't mind, he doesn't really mind you going back on some of his perspectives. He wants to hear both sides.
Yeah. Let's answer a couple of these questions. Do you think D2 and D3 NCAA champs should get an automatic bid for the N Division I national tournament? Yeah. I mean, I saw people complaining, why 33, why 34? Who cares? I mean, if you're going to invite the D2 champ and the D3 champ, bring them. Now you have a 35-man bracket or a 36-man bracket. What does it matter? How does that hurt us?
Yeah, I agree. Like, give those kids a chance. I like how it used to be like that. And you got guys that are like 6, 7-time All-Americans or 5-time national champs, maybe. That would be cool.
And then I know even Willie, and I'm not getting – what's that?
It gives more storylines.
Yeah, and then Willie was like, why 33 is the dumbest thing in sports. Well, and I tweeted back, 66 basketball teams or 68 basketball teams is the dumbest thing in the basketball national tournament.
Yeah.
Like, what is the sense of having that? It was 64 forever.
Yeah.
Now you got to add 4 more. Well, let us add 4 more. That's the way I look at it.
100%. Or I think get rid of 3 and make it 30, and then get back to 33 with the D2, D3 JUCO guys getting in, or NAIA, whatever it may be, because I think giving those kids an opportunity is a huge storyline, and you get one of those or two of those kids to break through an All-American for their schools, they're going to be heroes for their school, and they're going to advertise that, and they're going to get more enrollment from that, or more people coming to wrestle for their programs. And I really like that idea. I think they should bring it back. I got a question. I got a question here from Brad. What about high school dual tournaments, going back, I guess, to the tournaments we were talking about? What are the best high school dual tournaments? Which matchups are the best? I'm not sure about what the question, which matchups, but the best dual tournaments. I mean, I went to Virginia duals. That was a tough in-season tournament for sure. It's gotten a little weaker through time, but definitely a tough tournament.
No doubt the Clash.
Yeah, the Clash.
No doubt in my mind, the Clash is the best high school dual meet tournament that I could think of.
Yes, definitely. And I think maybe one that's really good out of season that just competes with the Clash is going to cadet or junior duels. Those dual tournaments are unreal. Wrestling for your state, freestyle and Greco, you're going to get 20 high-level matches if you do both styles. I mean, I was pretty good. I never went out there and had less than 2 or 3 losses, or even 5, 6 losses some years. So those were great.
I always say that's harder than Fargo.
Yeah, those
only because you're getting the best guy from the state.
Yep, I love
harder than Fargo.
And the good thing about those duels is you're wrestling with Team New Jersey, maybe with guys you don't go to the same club with. So now, by the time you get to junior or high school, you have a network of wrestlers in the state, South Jersey, North Jersey, using their clubs. They're coming to your club. So I think it's great to go to those tournaments. And I know a lot of my buddies in the sport of wrestling, I didn't start doing it till cadet, but they've been doing it since schoolboy duels, and they loved it. And it's the same experience even back then.
We got Williams backstage. I'm not sure who this is, but let's bring him on, answer a quick question. Nationals will be the same dates as of today. I know Brian's asking that question. Yep. 3rd week in March. So if Williams backstage, we can bring him on.
William, you don't even know who I am.
Billy Smith.
Hey, Schmitty. What's going on,
guys?
Schmitty?
What's up, dog?
Hey, man, I've been had nothing better to do. Listen to podcasts, man, trying to better myself.
Good.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you coming on and then calling in, bro. I miss you.
It's nice to hear how educated you sound there, Ashnall, man. You're coming a long way.
Yeah, I'll go grab my master's degree real quick. I should hang it up.
Dude, how you doing up there?
Good, man. You guys were talking about Eclipse. It's right down the road, man. It's a 30-minute Dover, right by the Dover bowling alleys. Man, all that stuff's kind of hits home, you know, because we all kind of have that shared experience.
Yeah. Definitely, man.
So listen, you're coaching one of the best high school teams in the state of New Jersey year in and year out. Incredible tradition. Yep. We got one of your boys. I appreciate that. I can't talk about him because it's illegal.
Yeah.
But you guys are still killing it, man.
We sending rumors. Hit up Pat. We are bringing back the hay bale match.
Really?
Match. Yeah.
What's that? We
get rid of the benches. For those you don't know,
and hay,
and we put hay down. Bring it back. It might be against Kittatinny or it might be against Newton, but we're gonna bring it back.
I'll take a trip up for that one for sure. Let's go.
Yep.
I want to see the flips still. They still hit the flips when they run out.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Billy, what is your plan up there? Are you going to be the next guy?
You know Johnny. Johnny's very open. We've talked about it. I think first thing first, Johnny, the way he made it sound is, first thing first comes tenure. I mean, I'm a teacher and a coach. I get tenure this September. I'm not in a rush. You know, I learn a lot from Johnny on the coaching side. You know, he's probably, you could talk to Kellen Bradley. He's the best guy to learn underneath because he cares about kids and he's got a gentle side, you know, that most coaches don't. And I just learned so much from him. He reminds me a lot of what's his face, Davis. You know, he coached the Bulls. He just has a way with coaching these hard kids that are hard to reach. And so, I mean, a couple more years at least.
Nice. Yeah, it's so cool to see your progress from being a teammate with you, just to seeing you lead young men right now. You know, some of our viewers might be new Rutgers wrestling fans. Those of you guys don't know, man, go look up Billy Smith at the Rack. He won a lot of big matches for us through his career, man. It was awesome to have him as a heavyweight. I mean, I had Rajan for some of my career as a teammate too at heavyweight, but just like going back to you, man, like I was so confident going into heavyweight if the dual meet was on the line.
I was pretty good in that situation. I'm not gonna lie, man. I think I lost one, maybe two in that situation. I lost to the Gibbons kid from Iowa State. Winning the match, and then I got reversed in the last second, and maybe one more. But other than that, there was weeks. There's 2 or 3 weeks where I would go, and a match would come down to me every match. I was never nervous because I was actually good in that situation. I liked that situation. The only thing stinks about wrestling heavyweight is you wrestle last. It's terrible. You sit around and
not
watch.
So much anymore.
More pick out of the hat now.
Wrestle and then watch my teammates and cheer my teammates on. I don't like to sit around and wait. Yeah,
coming from High Point and South Plainfield, those are things I think we both had our whole lives. So, I mean, for me as a lighter weight, I was pumped. But I'm rushing the mat, trying to jump on your shoulders when you win those. So it was cool. But what are some of the things, man, you're telling yourself in those big moments? You know, we had a team. I'm sure you were able to prepare because we had a team that was always 6-4 split, 7-3 at best, 5-5.
And that's usually the way it is in the Big Ten. You know how competitive it is. But you know, I've always been more of a team guy than an individual guy. You know, that's always been maybe it's just because I'm a High Point guy and that's kind of what we do. You know, we have kids, believe it or not. I mean, we had a kid this past season that are more about the team than themselves. It's kind of counterintuitive compared to what our society is. When we win a group title, they're more fulfilled in that moment than they are when down in Atlantic City. And that again testifies to Johnny's character, because that's the culture we build. It's actually a completely opposite than what most people do. You know, you hear a lot of these schools, oh, we're ready for March, put them on the podium. Well, that's good and all, but at the end of the day, you know, that banner doesn't go in the gym. It's the team stuff, you know. So Johnny's always about the team. And if you take care of those things and take care of your steps along the way, you know, sectional titles, league titles, group titles, then all that individual stuff will happen. And it's completely counterintuitive compared to what the other way other coaches coach, and it's special, you know.
Well, just special. So you know, Billy, that the guy we just landed from High Point, that's all he talked about. He wants a team. Yep. He loves the whole team thing. 100%. And when I was at Jackson, guys we'd finish the group state championship, and they were like, I don't even need to go to districts. Yep. It was all about the team. Yep. I mean, we had to win a team district title, but they could care less about the regions and states. Now, obviously, your studs do, but it was all about the team. And I don't know. That's kind of what your guys are saying now. Just so you know, so it's a good job.
And you know, it's a great quality. It is.
Such good
quality. You know, but it's, you know, at the end of the day, you want guys to step up and do it for themselves and then reach their own goals. But we really believe that if you buy into that team stuff, the individual stuff will just come.
Yeah, it will. I know in South Plainfield we did the same thing. We had Ray Jazz come on and talk a little bit about it, but it's the same way. Coach McCann was like, don't talk about your individual state title. We're winning a group title this year. Like every year, it's like, what's the goal? Group title. And you know, like it's funny. I'm just having flashbacks. Like maybe we had 30 guys on team. The number like 25 to 30 guy was the most, like they were the most excited about going to the group states to watch us wrestle and to support us and be fans. And like, I remember those times. Like I can remember guys. I mean, unfortunately, like we had one of my teammates pass away. He was like swimming in the ocean, got carried by a current, but his name was Saramad Rizvi. And like, he was never going to be a good JV wrestler, but he was so excited to come root us on and be a teammate. And like, I just have like hearing you talk about it, hearing Goody talk about Jackson. I love those memories, man. Yep. I remember 2 memories from high school. Winning groups first High Point as a freshman. Sorry, it was High Point. But you guys were supposed to beat us, and we had a great match, probably the perfect match. We could have wrestled and won. And I remember winning states individually as freshmen. I don't really remember too many more moments other than that. And it's like one was a team, and it wasn't even my individual success.
Yeah, there's something special. But on that note, are we moving groups to Rutgers? Is that a deal?
I've heard that. Yeah, I think that's going down. They're going to move it more centrally located.
That'd be great.
We should take it out of Tom's River.
South, man. Sick and tired going south. Everything's
but that's like, Billy, that's 2 minutes from my house. I loved it being at Tom's River North.
There was a time this past season in December, we went to Southern, we went to Brick, we went
CBA tournament.
CBA. All in December. Every other week.
Yeah. You guys are into. You guys always travel, man. Johnny's always bringing you guys on the road. I admired that. That was pretty cool. That was awesome.
Are you guys getting hotels for any of those trips, or you kind of just do it? You just rip it?
No.
Because like we're a little spoiled being in the central of New Jersey. Like everything's an hour at the most. Like that's 2.5 hours. Some of those drives for you.
Dude, we drive to LBI. That's like 3.5. Going to Southern. We did it. We're doing it this year. We're going to that tournament.
It's like going to Penn State for us.
But you know, Johnny sees it as he calls it practice on the bus. You know, a lot of in wrestling, you know, you deal with knucklehead high school kids, they need practice. We always practice for the big trip at the end, going to Tom's River, and winning a group title. So
good, man.
He's got a method to his madness. But
I like that. I like it a lot.
Listen, dude, I'm so pumped you called in. I appreciate it. You're the man. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I saw you at the Big Tens, but I was locked into that.
I just wanted to check in, talk to you guys. You guys do a good job. Love the show, man.
Good, man. Yeah. Stay in touch, man. Billy.
Well,
I miss you. I miss you, dude. Got to chill one day.
Yeah.
You're the man.
I'll catch you, bro.
That's awesome. I love seeing our former guys. That dude was a hammer.
Yeah, he was, man.
We always ask this, and I'm anxious to hear what our viewers say, because at the time he beat I think it was his freshman year. He beats Lehigh. We beat him for the first time in 60 years. Fast forward, maybe 4 years later, we're wrestling in that Big Ten, like the bowl matches, right? The Big
Lehigh
Ten versus the rest of the country. And we draw Lehigh. And it comes down to him and Wessel in front of 8,000 people at the rack. And he beats Wessel which was, I think there's a lot of turning points in our, right? You beat Cruz, I believe, that night. There's a lot of turning points where it really, really turned Rutgers wrestling. There's no doubt that's one of them. He beats Wessel in overtime. We beat Lehigh. I think it was 8 versus 9 in the country. And then he goes to nationals and he loses in a round of 12 to Wessel. And then people ask me, well, what, would you rather have win the dual meet or him being an All-American? And I was like torn, man. That dual meet was what it was all about, to wrestle at the rack. It was the start of, I think it was your freshman year. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, your freshman year. And we brought 10 guys that year to New York City. And that was our best team I think I've ever been a part of.
It was my sophomore year. Sorry.
Sophomore year. So what a dual meet. And I don't know what I'd rather. I'd rather want him to be an All-American. I'm sure he wanted that. But after hearing what he just said, beating Lehigh that day, that was probably the biggest win. One of the biggest top 3 wins in the history of Rutgers wrestling. Had to be.
100%, man. And just reading Dale's comment kind of reassures that Billy Smith always had something in the tank. We appreciate his desire to win and now to be a coach. And he was always very calm in general. Like, you see him come on, he's like, hey guys, how you doing? He's just a calm guy. And I know in that moment when he's going out for the win, he was pretty calm always. I just remember him just like a gentle giant until he went to go wrestle. So, dude, he was awesome. He had ice in his veins in those matches. That Lehigh match was awesome. There was a bunch of others. It's good that he's giving back to the sport now at a high level with the high level team. And hopefully he was a little bit of the influence on getting some of those high point guys to come to Rutgers in the future. So
remember they put in a rule for me after the matches with media. There has to be an administrator in there now because Billy was in there. I think he beat the Maryland kid who was talking a lot of yin yang, and it's like, I beat him 3 times in a row. And they're like, well, what do you say to him? It's like, basically, like, who's your daddy? Who's your dad? Or something like that.
If the kid put a tweet out like he was going to beat Billy, and then Billy won the match, and he said, I beat you 3 times. You call me daddy.
Yeah. So like, from now on, I have to have an administrator in there, but whatever. It's awesome to see him. Listen, man, we've hit about an hour and a half here. This has been awesome. When we get guests like that, everybody's talking wrestling. We're getting some really good questions. It goes quick. So we're going to jump on here next week, hopefully with a more update. I know guys wanted our lineup. I leave you with this. We're going to really look at our schedule. If you can't have fans at the rack, you'll see a whole different lineup for us. We're not going to have kids enroll. And that includes some of our horses coming in. I leave it at that. We're going to be really, really smart with how we approach the season, but I have no answers to some of those questions. It's all going to depend on what football does. And that's been the same for the last month, right, Ant? I can't. Yeah. There's not much I can answer right now.
What about that one question in the comments? Because I'm curious. I don't want to blow your spot up here. Earlier, it said Sammy put out a tweet recently that he won't be wrestling again in 2020. Is he just insisting that the season will start in January?
Oh, yeah. We're not going to wrestle in 2020.
Yeah. So,
but that's not true. What about the junior trials or the U23s? They may be able to wrestle there.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I was just going back to that question. I was curious about
that's a good question. Yeah, we're not going to wrestle in 2020, not in a dual meet or a tournament. Right. I think the season starts January 1st. I'm never certain. You never know what they're going to do, but I could almost guarantee you there's no wrestling in November, December.
Yeah. That's
Can we get Suriano back? Whatever the year looks like, we'll make that decision. If there's no season, maybe he does another Olympic red shirt. Maybe Sebastian does another Olympic red shirt, or does his Olympic red shirt. A lot of questions to be answered. I don't have those right now. Every day there's Zoom meetings and talks, and we leave it at that.
Just gossiping with, I don't want to rat the guy out on our team, but just gossiping with one of our guys on the team. I was like, hey, did you think about maybe taking a gap year, things like that? Maybe just taking off in case the season gets canceled, you don't ruin it. But then we start talking if there's a national tournament, I want to be winning it. He's saying I want to be wrestling in it, be an All-American or winning it. I don't want to miss that opportunity. For a lot of our guys that were redshirting last year or out already, it's a hard year to watch your teammates be successful and have their ups and downs and not be able to be a part of it in a team aspect or for yourself. You think you're making these jumps going into college, you want to go compete and show it. So as much as guys that want to save their year and not waste it, I think a lot of guys on the other hand are if there is a national tournament, I'm ready to go. I want to be wrestling. I don't want to miss another year and wait a whole nother year.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking all these guys are going to gray shirt. All these guys are going to Olympic year. we could sneak in here and win a trophy with the team we got. So can we get everybody on board to do that? You know? So, but that's me being selfish.
We don't want to sneak it. We want to earn it.
No, but that's me being selfish. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Listen, man, awesome. This was a good show. I'm glad we got back on. But let's definitely do it next week and get some of these questions going earlier in the week. And I know the fans are loving it, so we'll keep doing it.
Dang. Yep. I'm excited to be back next week. Excited that Billy Smith called down, and we had Pat Mineo. He was great. Continue to follow him if you want wrestling news and different things, the ups, the downs, the ugly, the really good. He'll definitely be putting all that out there. So follow him on Twitter. I'd say is the best outlet. He has his Facebook page. He mentioned too, the Wrestling Room, just like our podcast. Make sure if you're going to watch one of the wrestling rooms, though, it's ours. So
yeah. All right, brother. Enjoy, my man. Have a good week.
Yeah, sorry it's raining for you. You can't get on the course today.
I'll be out there 2:30. Third day.
Up?
It's clearing up here.
Yep. All right, have a good round, Coach.
All right, my man. See ya.
Yeah.